So this is one of the most cheerful gospels we've heard so far this year, isn't it? Like, great option for the morning of a baptism, right? And there is still good news. So there are bits and pieces here that I want to kind of parse out that I've been thinking about as I've been really studying the scriptures, the lessons for this week. And how does this relate to where we are now, right? Because we're always looking at things and trying to figure out, but how is this speaking to me? And how is this speaking to our world today? So the biggest things that I was realizing in reading this is that what the message that we are hearing from Jesus is, and this is in response, right? He's come to Jerusalem. He knows he's at the end of his life. We're heading into Advent, right? So now we're in the kind of apocalyptic end of the world readings. And he's been at the temple. He's been seeing how the temple leadership are really not making the best choices for the people, for caring for the people. He watched the widow give away her last mite, her last coin, while those in power are really glorifying in their own power. And people are remarking about how amazing the temple is and how beautiful it is. And Jesus is basically like, hold up for a minute. What really matters is not buildings, right? What really matters is how we behave, how we love each other, and the words that we say. And one of the things that I was really noticing is in this lesson from Luke, we shouldn't be surprised because all season we've been hearing from the Gospel of Luke, who's constantly telling us, notice who's being left out. Notice who's hurting. Notice who is alone or hungry or in pain or suffering in some way. And that's where you're supposed to be paying attention. So Jesus is being really honest with us and saying, this beautiful building doesn't matter. What matters is how we're going to care for each other and trusting that it's going to be okay. It's going to get messy. I promise you, it's going to get really messy. And then he goes on to foretell in basically 70 years, 70 of the Common Era, the temple is destroyed. And that's pretty hard for the people to believe because this temple, what we know of it, we know from a man named Josephus, who talked about the temple in ancient writings and described it. And in Isaiah this morning, we hear the people's response when they returned from exile in Babylon and the temple was gone for the first time, and they're pretty devastated. And what God says to them is kind of remarkable. God says, "For I am about to create new heavens and a new earth. The former things shall not be remembered or come to mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. For I am about to create Jerusalem as a joy and its people as a delight." So these people have been in exile. They come back. There is nothing left. God's like, don't worry. It's going to be okay. And they build this temple. And what we know of this temple is it was 10 stories high. And each block of pure white marble was 8 feet across. And it covered 36 acres of land. And on the outside, it was adorned with pure gold. And there were things like vines, grapevines, and each bunch of grapes was as big as a grown man. And there were plates of gold that when the sun rose and hit it, it was so blinding, it was like trying to look at the sun. And as people came to visit the temple and saw it sitting, they almost thought it was a mountaintop because it looked like a snow-topped mountain. I mean, this place was impressive, right? We think this is a beautiful space. We got nothing on the temple. So when Jesus comes in and says, there will not be a single stone left of this, that's pretty shocking. Like, how could that possibly be? And Jesus says, but wait, there's more. Like, you're going to get persecuted. All these things are going to start happening in my name that are going to be kind of hard. He's being honest. We know what that honesty looks like, right? As we're looking around the world today, we're seeing a lot of things, or at least I'm seeing a lot of things, crumble that I thought were temples. Things that I thought we just had common agreements on, like the 3 different branches of our government, that we welcome immigrants who are here lawfully and with good reason, that we feed people who are hungry, that we use the money that we have for good things, that we help people have health care, and we welcome the stranger. And some of those temples are crumbling. And it's really painful. It's really hard, I think, right now to look out at the world and think, yikes, what is going on? And I think especially for young families thinking, what have I brought a child into? Right? What kind of world is this? What are these things that I thought were absolute truths that are actually illusions? And Jesus keeps telling us, God keeps saying, the truth is love. Love is the absolute truth. And hard things are going to happen. And when these hard things happen, what we hear is Jesus say, guess what? Because these things are happening, this will give you an opportunity to testify. So what that means is we then start to testify about things that are true that don't have anything to do with the power structures of the world, with whether it's Roman Empire or governmental empire. That whether it has to do with rules that say you cannot take care of somebody on the Sabbath, or you can't begin to feed that person, they don't belong here, they're not working hard enough. Ironically, the lesson that we heard from 2 Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians, whatever it was today, has been used as a bludgeon, even on the floor of the house, to prove why we should not be paying for people who are experiencing food insecurity. They're not working, therefore they don't deserve bread. I really don't think that's what the message is, my friends. I think the message is those folks in that time were so excited that Jesus was coming that they quit doing anything but sitting around waiting for God to come down from the sky, and they were probably kind of annoying. Right? They probably were like, oh no, don't do anything. Don't feed your calves. Don't take care of your house. Don't do any of these things because God is coming. When really we need to just keep taking care of ourselves and all the things because yes, God is coming and God is here. And we get to testify to these things by being agents of love and care. We get to speak to a truth that speaks to hope and faith and belief in something more. We get to do things like baptize babies into a community that we know speaks of love and care. And so I've been thinking, like, how are we testifying right now as the people of St. Luke's? And the beautiful thing is just this month, and we are only at the 16th, just this month, we have brought in, y'all have donated more than $2,000 for us to feed people in our community, to provide meals, to provide groceries, we have the grocery cart that's overfilled with folks who brought in things for Aurora Interfaith's food pantry. We are making snack bags for Casa de Paz, which is an organization that greets people when they have been released from ICE detention and gives them a gift card so they can try to phone home because chances are they're thousands of miles away from where they began, that helps them buy bus tickets, that helps their families connect with them. And that's our testimony. Those are our words of love. Those are the things that we are saying that speak a very different truth about how we care for one another, how we show up for the world, what we do when someone has a need. We feed them. We companion them. We show up. And so I'm so grateful that we have community to do that with, that we get to welcome folks like baby Lulu into this community and to be really grateful and thankful and pleased that we are showing up and being loving Because that's what God's about, my friends. God is not about saying no. God's about saying yes. God is about saying, have faith, have hope, do not be afraid. Today we even heard, do not be terrified. And I know we've all had moments of terror in the night. We're human. But then we get to come here on Sunday mornings and be together and know words of hope and faith. And we get to feed our neighbors and show up for folks who are leaving detention centers. And we get to help pay medical bills and all of these other things that allow us to use our hands and our hearts and all the blessings that God has given us to lift up one another. So thank you. Thank you for testifying to what the truth is really about of this world. That we are a people of faith, and regardless of what empire has to say, we're going to keep showing up for our neighbors. And we're going to make sure that we are loving well and faithfully, so that whether Jesus arrives this afternoon or well but beyond our times here on earth, we can stand and say we have been good and faithful servants, that we've shown up for one another and for God in the ways that the world is so hungry for. And so for that, I will always give thanks. Amen.